welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Matcha, where we dive into the bittersweet moments of the teenage experience. Just like matcha, both can often be messy and imperfect, but that's what makes them beautiful in the end. With that, thank you so much. And today's episode, I have a super special guest with me here today. I actually met him through one of the initiatives through my city, and he told me about his nonprofit, and I thought that it was super cool and that he'd be a great guest for the podcast. Let's welcome Richie.
Hello everyone, my name is Richie, and I am a high school student who actually runs a nonprofit.
Nice. Can you tell me a little bit about your nonprofit and what first pushed you to care about education beyond your own community?
Absolutely. So my nonprofit is based here in California, and it is an initiative with a bunch of my school members to help students in Nepal internationally who really lack their basic English education, which helps people beyond their own current limited job and workforces there, because knowing another language is something that not everyone has the access to, and we're just trying to make it free and accessible to all those people living there.
Yeah, totally. And then why did you feel that education was the issue you needed to specifically act on?
Well, a couple of years ago, I actually went to Nepal with my family as just like a visit, right? To visit family overseas. And I noticed over there that there's a huge lack of education in certain areas of Nepal, more specifically the southern area, where it's a lot more rural, and they certainly lack English out of all of them, compared to the main capital city. Now, when I went there, I noticed that, if you're a student living in those southern areas of Nepal, you're not going to have that same level of high quality English education. And you might be wondering why I focus on English. And it's because in Nepal, tourism and so many other aspects where you need to know English is such an integral part of that country's GDP and economy, where knowing another language is necessity. The barriers that underprivileged students face that we often don't think about are as simple as things like electricity, clothes, and for instance, you go to school and you take all those things for granted in the sense that it's already, let's say it's a cold day, right? It's already heated up. Electricity is running 24/7. You could wear your coat and your pants and stuff and you're already all good, right? You're ready to learn. But in Nepal, especially the more poor regions and southern Nepal where I taught, it's a different story. In Nepal, electricity doesn't run 24/7 compared to other regions along across the globe. So with that, I realized that it is such a thing that most of us overlook, and we need to have a more good perspective about that. Sometimes we extend meetings longer than usual, maybe by up to half an hour, 15 minutes, because their electricity is just cut. They can't even log into their Google Meets to start teaching.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So there's a lot of barriers that kind of restrict you, but I love how you're still able to push through and keep doing what your mission is. And I think it's so cool. Are you doing it out of your school?
Yeah, it's a club out of my school.
And you're the founder of it.
Yeah, right? I'm the founder of it, correct.
Are there any people who have helped you a lot along the way?
Yeah,
because I'm sure it's been so hard.
Yeah, it has. So I guess I should go down the list of the people that helped me. So when I first started this, my friend Connor, he definitely helped out. He's the current VP. He's the one who really assisted me with this whole club application process and everything, and helped me get all this started in the school. And a special mention to my dad, who helped me come up with this idea and with the connections of everything, right? Talking with the leader of the orphanage, right? And he's the one who managed to get me connected with him, so I'm able to properly teach the kids how I am right now. And after Connor, Max Zhao, he helped me tremendously in all this planning for fundraisers and stuff, right? So I was thinking about what fundraisers I should do, and he helped me in. So during our meetings, you always notice that there's not everyone is in one phone, right? By that I mean one person joins, an adult joins, and all the students are in that one phone, in that one frame, and it is so hard for all of them to properly listen and learn. So one of our ideas that we came up together was that we should basically send laptops and whatnot so they can have their own individual laptop to learn. So you can send things as simple as like Chromebooks. And after that, I would definitely say Ethan Lysenko. Oh my God, he helped me definitely expand to other students throughout the school with club fairs and things like that. I mean, he really helped me out with reaching out to other people in our school and getting our schoolmates to know more about it. And finally, I definitely have to give a special mention to Zane. He helped me a lot with connecting with some more people, actually. And in certain situations where like we had to like cancel a meeting or anything, he definitely persuaded me to keep on going and continuing on this nonprofit that I currently have.
Yeah, so when did you first start this nonprofit?
Well, I mean, I had the idea of it with my father, like I'd say freshman year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And over the summer of freshman year, I started connecting with the leader and founder of the orphanage. With that, I'd say it took 2 or 3 months.
Wow, really, that's a long time.
Yeah, like to set things up, right?
Yeah.
My dad already knew this guy, right? But like we had to like get all the students who would be interested, setting up times,
Yeah.
dates, right? Setting up the club itself, which is like after. So my freshman summer was definitely when all that took place. So I prepared around that time over the course of freshman summer. Now after that, my first quarter of sophomore year. So literally the first week or two, I submitted the club form with the help of Connor, and like we got it up and running. We got our first meeting, and everyone introduced themselves to the kids. The kids introduced themselves. We started our meetings, and from there on, every Friday, 7 to 8 p.m. So before I actually came here, I was literally in a Nepal meeting.
Really?
Teaching the kids.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's why, like, just came back from there in my house, and that was another experience for me too, because every week we learned something new with the kids, right? And they learn something new that they can, and they definitely have signs of improvement every single week.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love how you're so dedicated. And it's definitely hard to start an international nonprofit. So were there ever any doubts that you had like when starting this?
Oh, absolutely. I thought this thing wouldn't even start. Like having the connections in the first place was already something that I didn't even know I had, right? Until I started talking to my dad. I started reaching out to him as well. I started talking with him a little bit, getting to know him a little bit more. And he told me about it, and he was actually pretty enthusiastic about it, and that's exactly what I needed to start this program. And because of that, he managed to get me like in connection with the kids themselves, right? And from there, like I doubted myself, like sure they say yes now, but what if they change their minds later?
Yeah.
And that was the biggest doubt for me. But at the end of the day, we managed to push through, and the nonprofit continued right after. And since you asked me that same question, have you had any doubts when starting this podcast of yours?
Yeah, so I also started mine when I was a freshman. I had my first episode almost a year ago now, actually. I think it was February of 2025. And I will say, like, at first, I had so many doubts because for this, I have to, like, completely put myself out on the internet and I have to be, like, super vulnerable, super transparent. And, like, I would say, like, it's gotten to the point where, like, and this isn't a bad thing or anything, but, like, some people will be like, oh, Sophia, like, I saw you did this, this, and this. And I'm like, wait, how do you even know that? And then they're like, because I watched the podcast. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, right now, it seems like people aren't gonna watch it because it's just like a conversation. But then you watch it when it's on YouTube and you're like, oh shoot, people are actually like watching this.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary because it's like, what are people gonna say? Like, are people gonna judge me? Are people gonna hate? But I kind of had to like block out all those thoughts and just keep on going. And I know you probably had like a similar experience.
Yeah, what inspired you to like start all this? Like, was there a certain thing that you noticed? Did someone tell you? Was it from your heart? Like,
yeah, okay, so I love how you're asking me this. So I saw freshman year, you know how it is right now, like with the college application process, it's so competitive. And I feel like so many students are falling into the trap of comparing themselves to other people. And I don't think that it's healthy for teenagers to do that. And I feel like nowadays we only see people posting about their successes online and only about all the amazing things they're doing, when in reality, like, there's so much more to your teenage experience than your successes. And I don't think there was a platform that completely amplified both the successes and failures of people. So I wanted to kind of create a platform where I can kind of show the bittersweet realities of the teenage experience. The next question is, how do you keep working when progress feels slow?
When progress feels slow, and the reason why I still continue is because when I first started these meetings, the first 2 or 3 weeks, some of them were answering questions, some weren't, and I was really wondering if they would really continue on. Progress feels slow. I keep on working because I know that these children need someone that they can rely on. Time and time again, they always continue to show up every day and are so intrigued to learn more. And when a couple of them don't listen or like play off or goof off,
Yeah, I bet there's a lot of that.
in the beginning there's a little bit of that,
Yeah.
but as they like got to know me and the team a little bit more better, like they settled down, they started asking questions. Like even when we do like small quizzes and stuff, they all participate. When we do story times, right, when we just read a book, they all listen, they have discussions with them like amongst themselves. And because of that, like when progress felt slow originally, I just kept on pushing, and eventually everything is just smoothly falling in place, and they're learning really well and are doing an amazing job right now.
Yeah, it's so important when you're starting big projects like this to trust the process. And I definitely have to do that with the podcast as well. Like at first, like maybe the views weren't there, or and also the views don't matter, and like the amount of like recognition you get doesn't matter at all. But what matters the most is how much of an impact you're making on people. And I'm absolutely sure that these kids are feeling so impacted by all of the amazing work that you're doing. And I just think it's super cool that you're doing all of this. And also, I want to touch upon the fact that you're doing fundraising, right? So what was the process of that like, and how did you even like gather the funds for that?
So before I start, I want to say that everything right now is being planned,
Got it.
right? So first of all, I talked with the orphanage, like the leader, and I told him the idea of it, and he was like all for it. So right now, I'm working on the forms.
Got it.
So you need to get the form from like the district and whatnot, and you have to fill them out and do so much like paperwork and stuff. So it can be like kind of registered as like a proper nonprofit, and there's like a certain legal code for, I think, a 501c3.
Oh yeah, for the nonprofits.
Yeah. So you have to get that all done with and actually like get everything connected. I already have a couple connections with some communities, like our local Nepali community. That's one of my key sources that I'll probably be planning to get fundraisers from, along with my own school, local city, and community.
Starting this, what moment have you felt most proud of? Because I'm sure there's a lot.
My most proudest moment was actually a couple weeks ago when I first noticed that all the children, they were really intrigued into the stories, into the quizzes. They all focus. I mean, it was a complete like day and night difference from what they were a couple weeks prior to that day, when they were like not listening, not doing anything. They were like locked in and were prepared and focused, and they really were excited to get those questions. They were like talking amongst themselves, and they were almost like kind of competing against each other, and like they were having fun with it. And they always ask questions to me, which I think is really cool. And the fact that they're having a greater understanding than what they had originally and progress is what is really making me proud, and definitely what a lot of my teammates are feeling as well.
Yeah, so you're kind of like in the teacher perspective right now. And as a student in high school, do you kind of have more sympathy for your teachers now, seeing what they have to deal with?
Absolutely. Like every day when you go in class, like I'd say like a year or two ago, before I even started this, you would just view a teacher as like, you know, a teacher who works, gives you assignments. You never really think about what goes in their head,
Yeah.
right? Because you get your work, you do it, right? Sometimes you don't participate, sometimes you don't do certain things, but when you're actually the teacher in this position, you want the children to be engaged. And that's when you notice the teacher always picking on you or doing those certain type of things. Like they mean well for you, and
Yeah.
they're actually excited to see you grow and progress.
Exactly. That's such a good point. And I feel like most students, they don't really care about like what their teachers think, but just think about like how much work you're putting in for these kids, and like you wouldn't want one of your students to like disrespect you after like the amount of hard work that you put in to educate them. And like I feel like it's so important to not only educate your students but also show them that you care for them. So what are some ways that you kind of show that you're beyond just a teacher and you're actually someone who they can look up to?
A way that I make myself like more open to like students in
Yeah.
general is I always ask them every question, even if I know like they may struggle with that. I always ask them, it's okay if you mess up. Like, I'm here. I'm not gonna punish you for it, right? Because everything is a learning process. And if you just tell them to like stop, right? Like, you got it wrong. You gotta stop. You can't do that. You're not doing it right. You just stop them there. Their mindset is just gonna stay there as well.
Yeah.
They're not gonna see themselves as something that can progress themselves even higher than what they are right now.
Yeah, I bet this has helped you as a student too, right? Like having this whole mentality thing.
Yeah. Having the mentality that you aren't just stuck in one place, but actually can expand your mind. Like, if, for instance, like, you don't understand something in school, you shouldn't just, like, keep it to yourself. Like, there's so many sources, like your teachers, your own peers, that can help you out and get you out of this stuck mindset. Because even if you get something wrong, there's always going to be someone, or usually someone's going to help you out of that situation. You just need to know the right person to call out to.
Yeah, I think it's so important to be able to foster an inclusive space, and especially like in a classroom, in a high school, wherever it may be, on a court, a team. It is so important to have every student, every player know that they are loved, they are cared for, and they're seen. Because if your student or person doesn't feel like they're meant to be there, then they're not going to flourish as a student or as a person. If someone wants to help internationally but doesn't know where to start, what would you tell them?
Honestly, it all stems down to one word, and it's connections. You have to work your way from the bottom to the top. From talking to your local mayor. I mean, it obviously depends on where you're located internationally. So if you can talk to the person that's as simple as an adult, right? Like a teacher, for instance, right? They have connections with the principal. The principal has connection with person higher up than them, the person that hired them, right? You just have to be able to work your way up, and you have to start small. So those people that are in the like a little bit below them, like they can vouch for you and actually support you to make yourself go higher and higher until you reach that person that you desire and wish to connect to and start a certain like nonprofit. Or you don't even need to do that. You can just go all for it. And you can use social media and other platforms to reach out. And it's almost like the same concept of connections where you want to have an audience and connect with other people to listen to what you're saying.
Exactly. It is totally okay. Like, I feel like a lot of people are scared to start things when they're young because they feel like people aren't going to help them. But the more I've talked to people like you who have started nonprofits or who have started something big and impactful to them, the more I realize that adults really do want to help you. And there are so many resources, so many people out there who are willing to help. And it is so much better to try and fail than to not even do anything and not get anything out of it. So do you think you can relate to that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So, within like your local community, school, or anything, what is one thing of change that you wish to see within students or teachers that they once always like continue to do and wish they kind of change in terms of like when they go to school, they see their teacher and they don't really have a care for them, or they don't really see them as someone that they can talk to, or be like they always act shy to them or something like that.
Yeah. I just want to start by saying I am very fortunate to be able to go to a school where most of the students do know that our teachers 100% are one of our biggest supporters. And most of us know that on campus there is at least one adult we can go to because we have things like advisory block and office hours and community block and all of that. And I think like the number one thing that I want to see for people like in my school and outside of my school is just to get out of your comfort zone. I know it's kind of hard to do, and it's like for someone introverted or for someone who's shy, it's really hard to, like get out of your comfort zone. But again, it's so important to just take that step, because if you don't take that leap forward and you don't openly express yourself, then you're never going to get the help that you truly need. And the more that you suppress your feelings and the more that you hide it, the less successful that you're going to be in high school and your overall career. So
You were talking about your own experiences, right, in your school, but what about people that aren't as fortunate as like you are? Because you have advisory blocks and
yeah,
all those other things, right? Like,
yeah. I would definitely say be as resourceful as you can. It can be going to your teachers at lunch. It could be going to them at break, going to them at whatever free period you have, to be honest. Like, again, like every school has different advantages and disadvantages, but the best thing that you can do is to just be as resourceful as possible. And for example, like with the podcast, I literally film in my garage. I have to be super resourceful. I started with an iPhone 8. I use really cheap mics. I use like cheap lights in front of us, but I have to be resourceful to get through. And I think the same thing applies to whatever you're doing in life, because for the most part, you're not spoon-fed things. And I know it's for a lot of people who are privileged, like maybe you are getting the connections you need, or maybe you are getting the homework answers you need, or I don't know, whatever it may be. But it is so imperative that you are able to take advantage of your own education and your own personal well-being. The next question is, what do you hope people take away from this work that you're doing?
What I hope people take away from my work is to have more initiative than what they already have, right? Because everyone has the ability to do more than what they currently do. Like, no matter what situation you're in terms of like, you're in a good school and you have all these friends and peers, like, if I were you, I would get together with them, and you can even start a local tutoring. You could teach kids in the local elementary school who are struggling. You could do so many things along those lines that help out not just like your group and friends, but people outside of them.
Yeah, I do want to say that I feel like nowadays people think there's so much bad in the world, but at the same time, we can be the people to combat that bad, and we can be the people to be the change that we need to see. And I think it's so great that you and other teenagers that I've talked to are taking the initiative and having the courage, first of all, to start stuff at such a young age. And it's just so important to, if you feel passionate about something, to just start it. And I think that you're a really good case of maybe you don't have all of the resources, or maybe you start with a small team, or maybe you don't even know where to start, but in the end, you still are able to trust the process, push through, and look where you are now. So, and you've grown so much in just a year? So that's really amazing, and I'd like to commend you for that. And then another question I have for you is, do these kids already have like a basic understanding of English beforehand, or were you the one to kind of like instill in them all these practical English skills?
Now, the people that I'm tutoring or teaching right now, their ages span from like 7-year-old to like 22-year-olds. So there's a huge age gap there, right? Some of them like barely know English and you need to help them a lot. Some of them have like a more basic understanding. Some are like a little bit more proficient, but it's like so many different ranges of English education. But my goal is to find like a common ground, and definitely get the people that need help more, to like get them to participate more, and the people that know English more, kind of get them as kind of like secondary teachers in a sense, to help the people
Like
out
peer
that need help.
tutors.
Exactly, yeah. And I try to talk to them, and they agree wholeheartedly that the people that are struggling more, like as I said, they're like secondary teachers to me, and if they're struggling, they can translate in Nepali that, hey, you need to do this or that, or if there's like a behavior check that they need to do, like they're there to help me as well.
Yeah, do you also speak Nepali?
Yeah, I'm fluent in Nepali, and that's like one of the main reasons why I chose Nepal as a country, because it's a country where my parents came from. I was born here, right? But I'm first generation.
Yeah.
Because of that, I wanted to like give back to the places where my parents were from, and look at the economic problems in Nepal right now. I mean, there were protests in Nepal just a couple of months ago that burned down their whole parliament building over there. I mean, it's a whole different situation over there. Hopefully it's getting a lot better there, but there's a lot of problems going on there, and having like this type of program to help people out in need, to get their mind kind of averted from those situations, is something that is super useful.
That is a really, really good point. And I love that you bring that up, because it just goes to show that we as students are so privileged, no matter what school you come from. There's so many third world countries out there. There's so many kids out there who don't even have proper water or electricity or a technology to play games and watch TV like we get. Like, we are so blessed to have all of the resources that we do, and it's so great that there are people out there like you who are able to use our blessings to better other people, and I think that's amazing. So
Yeah, I mean, one of my friends, his name, I feel like you might know him. His name is Lucas, right? And he was like, when he first found out about like this whole
yeah,
project, like he was like shocked, right? Like he was like, "How are you like doing all this, right?" And he was really interested in. And it shows that people once they hear about it, I mean, first they're shocked, right? Because a
yeah,
high school student is doing this, but he was really like interested in all these like economics, political things that are happening in Nepal, not just like the teaching aspect. And he was really interested about the things beyond just education there, but also about like finding more about Nepal facts and other things, like researching about the country, right?
yeah.
Before then, like he didn't really have a keen interest in Nepal or South Asia as a whole. But now he's definitely improved upon that. And it shows that like the world isn't just the United States. There are so many other countries across the globe. And while I'm only teaching Nepal, there are so many other countries throughout the world that need this help, and which relates back to one of the questions that you said about international students, right? And if you're an international student, you should definitely look at not only your own country but other countries if you're privileged enough to help them as well, because there are so many economic, political rifles all over the world, right? And they need help.
Most definitely. And I love that you're bringing up the fact that you're bringing light to Nepal and the culture of it. And I was actually going to ask you about this earlier. It's a way for you to not only help other people that you feel need help, but it's also a way for you to connect back to your cultural identity and your roots. And personally, I've always taken so much interest in the South Asian countries and like the Himalayan countries, like Nepal, Tibet, India, Pakistan, all of that. And I actually took a class over the summer. It was a public speaking class. And one of the participants was from Nepal, and he gave one of his final speeches on Nepal and the culture, and I just thought it was like such a beautiful culture, and it's a really nice blend between like Indian, Chinese, and Tibetan, right?
I mean, it's a weird agglomeration of all those countries, along with their own like Nepali twist in it,
Yeah.
right? It is. I mean, I could go on and on about it, but
Yeah.
yeah. For example, like one of my members, his name is Donovan. He was at first he wasn't really interested in it, right? Donovan and Gianni, they weren't that interested in it. But as I told them more about Nepal and the country as a whole, they were like at first they kind of neglected that whole region of the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
But once they like kind of thought outside of their little box there, they realized that outside of the United States, there are so many other countries. And for instance, like my parents are from Nepal, right? And like I want to like kind of share that knowledge that they taught me about their home country, and like teach other people about like their experiences, why they came here, and their culture. And that is like one thing that not just them, but so many other people were asking me about this country.
Yeah, have you ever thought about doing not only you guys teaching the people from Nepal, but having people from Nepal teaching you guys?
Actually, that's actually a really great question, because one of our meetings, when there was a Nepali festival happening, we kind of had the roles reversed. And
Oh, okay.
this time the students were the teachers and we were just listening. So I got a couple of my friends and other teammates to join in the call, and the students from Nepal, they taught us about what was happening in Nepal, like culture, political stuff, economic stuff, and they really lectured hard about what happens in their country. And everyone asked questions. They were keen on listening, and it was like a huge new experience for all of them.
Yeah, and that's also a really good point because it shows that the hard work you're putting in to teach them English is paying off because they're lecturing you in English, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so I bet like that must have been a moment that made you feel so proud because it's like all my hard work is paying off, and this is evident that they're really passionate and even going to the point where they can showcase their culture using what you taught them.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So after all these like not just here in the podcast but in school and your local community, what is like a story that stood out to you that really impacted the way that you're thinking? Like for example, let's say someone tells you something that really made you switch to a different perspective about a certain subject or something along those lines.
Let me think. That's a really good question, and I've had so many different diverse experiences and perspectives, so it is really hard for me to think of just one major one. I would say, like, overall, like, not just specific to one person, hearing the stories of how other people go on about not only pursuing what they're passionate about, but also thriving in life has been one of the most important and fundamental lessons, I think, for me. Because as a high school student and as a perfectionist and as someone who overworks herself, I really need to learn how to just have a couple days where I can just slow down a bit and be able to tell myself, like, taking one day off is okay. And seeing how people are able to balance self-care into their routine and being able to have time with their friends and having a good social life and being able to work out and get good grades and all of that has genuinely helped me so much. Like, especially this year, sophomore year, like, I talk about this in almost every single episode because I think it's so important, and I think that the stories that I hear from this is something that I think everyone can take away from, because everybody has such a different approach to how they are able to take care of themselves. Or maybe even if you're still actively trying to get better at taking care of yourself, the more you listen to other people's experiences, the better it is for you, if that makes sense. But what about you? Like, what's one story that stuck out to you?
Well, a story that stuck out to me, and this is actually before my Nepal project, right? It was, I'd say, middle schoolish, right? And it was a documentary that I watched, and it kind of explained everything that happened during that period back in 7th or 8th grade about the political, economic things all over the world, right? Not just here domestically. And I realized there are so many problems happening all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And you need to really think about the things that happen, not just here, but the external things, because those things impact us here too. Even if you don't really think about it, it really does. And whatever happens there, like for instance, let's say there's a war in, I don't know, the Middle East, right? Like a lot of oil is there, like things get impacted, right? And I really opened up to the possibility that we need to have more unification, right? And I know that's a common thing that we all say, but that revelation kind of stemmed to my Nepal project, where I want to unify people, right? In the sense that get people from here and get people from Nepal, right? They speak English, they can talk to each other. They can share common goals, common things, right? Articulate their thoughts and be able to express themselves and kind of unify in a sense.
Yeah, I think, especially in the state that we're in right now, our world is so fragmented. And it's really important to find people or to be the person who's like the glue. And to be the person who has the courage to start things that unify people. And I think, like, even for me, like, when I was in middle school, it doesn't even have to relate to the podcast or an extracurricular activity. Like, I've always been, like, the type of person to plan events with my friends and to, I don't know, like, plan study sessions and all of that. And I think that a lot of the things, like, personality-wise, kind of, like, applies to the things that you do, like, extracurricularly. Do you think any of, like, your personality traits kind of apply to what you're doing with this?
I'd say that the personality traits that I have right now stem from the things that I've been doing now. For instance, right, besides that documentary that I watched, um, I always had a common sense of like a word that I was saying earlier, unification, right? I hated when people were separate and were just always fighting for no reason, because everyone has a common goal, and that is to like live a nice life, right? And the way that they interpret that is in so many different ways, and that creates conflict. And for me, in terms of personality, if I always want people to really think about their actions and kind of act as like a mitigator to get
Yeah.
them to stop.
I've
what they're
always
doing,
been that
right?
way too. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Like really think about their actions before pursuing them, right? Give them some advice. If they're planning on like arguing with someone, right, for no apparent reason, or even if they have a reason, and it's just like 9 times out of 10, it's just not a good reason to really be arguing and waste that time over,
Yeah.
right? And just get them to think about their decision before they actually like go on for it, right?
Yeah, no, like, I've always been the type of person, like, if there were, like, two arguments, like, I'd always be in between, and then some people would, like, get mad because I wouldn't, like, choose a side, but I think, like, in some cases, it's not about choosing sides. What's most important is hearing both sides, because you never know what each side is coming from and what they may have experienced that day, or what may be going on at home, and there's so many different factors, and I think people are so quick to judge nowadays, and they're so quick to automatically just think the worst of everyone. But I really think that we need more people in this world to just think the absolute best of people. And it's really hard to do that. Like, it's hard because there's so much bad in this world, but at the same time, there's so much good that just has to be cultivated. But it just takes one person or one idea to kind of help that idea flourish. So, what would you tell your younger self before starting all of this?
That's a really great question, actually. What would I tell myself before I started all of this, right? Well, if I could go back in time, go back to, let's say, my 5th or 4th grade self, a person who was so, like, secluded, right? Who didn't really care about the outside world, let alone their house or state or county or anything, who just only cared about what happened in his own life and didn't really have care about anyone else besides themselves. I wish I could go back to that person and say, you should really stop focusing your energy on just yourself, because if you're always going to be stuck up on yourself, no one is really going to appreciate that. If you can, like, go out to other people, start conversations, start talking to other people about the things that you enjoy, right? Yeah, not just be quiet about the things that you do, not have any interest, and be a little bit more outgoing. I would tell him that you shouldn't just be in one place, and you should go out to talk to more people. And I'm not just saying, like, people within your own grade. I'm talking about people that are, like, adults or strangers, right? Make new connections, because you never know when you're never going to make the opportunity ever again.
Yeah, it really is just about going out of your comfort zone. And, like, even when we first met, like, we were able to have such a back and forth conversation, and, like, I don't even know what time it was. Pretty late at night. Like, we had just gone through a stressful, like, application process, and yet we were still both able to talk about what we were both passionate about, and we were able to get to know each other. And I think it just goes to show, like, there are so many opportunities that come out of just talking to people. Like,
Absolutely.
Yeah, like, if you hadn't applied to that city initiative, or if I hadn't talked to you, like, we would have both never been able to get these opportunities. Yeah. So, but do you have any last words to say?
But yeah, I mean, this was a great conversation that we had today. And if anyone is scared and is kind of shy about what they should do, they should first really just talk with more people and get connected with more people. And with that, you can maybe even start your own initiatives and projects to get more people connected, or maybe research a certain issue that happens in your community or your county or your state or your country, etc., right? At the end of the day, the more outgoing you are, the more less shy you are and able to connect with more people, the more opportunities will present themselves. And it's going to be a lot more easy for you later in life. And even now, if go away from your small bubble and continue on reaching out, talking to more people.
Yeah. And again, it's scary and it's easier said than done. Definitely
Absolutely.
Easier said than done. But you have so many role models that you can look up to. You have so many people like Richie and other people that I've interviewed that you can always reach out to, or you can always go back and watch the videos. But I hope all of you guys enjoyed this episode of Let's Talk Matcha Podcast, and we hope to see you all in the next episode. Thank you.